Here are the Spelfabet Level 1 version 3 workbooks. They are identical, except that there's a teacher clinician edition, which you can make up to 30 copies of, and there's a parent aid edition that you can make up to 5 copies of. This is a bit cheaper. This one assumes that most teachers or clinicians or tutors will have up to about 30 kids who might need a copy, and so the idea is that one person buys the file and then you can print what you need. You can bind it like this if you like, and use it with the learners that need it. So let's go through and find out what's inside. First of all, there's a contents page that explains the teaching sequence, and this sequence is the same sequence that's used in Sounds Right initial code. The Sounds Right program a lot of schools are using. We use it here at Spelfabet a lot. And so my workbook is not meant to replace, it's meant to complement the Sounds Right workbook. And the teaching sequence is also the same as in the Sounds Right books, obviously, the readers. And then the phonic books also use the same teaching sequence. So if you've got littlies, you can use these books, the Dandelion readers, which go with that teaching sequence, same order of teaching. The Dandelion launches for littlies who can't cope with quite so much text on the page. And also the phonic books, catch-up readers for older kids. We use these Magic Belt ones a lot, and the first few books in that series go with this teaching sequence. There's an introduction, a bit of an explanation if you'd prefer to find out this stuff by reading it. And then when you get to the first page, so it's assuming nothing, assuming that the learner needs to start from scratch. You don't have to start here. If you want to start further up the book, you can. And so there's three letters representing 3 sounds, and we have red dots to show where to start writing them. And I'll say the first word, mat, and you have to listen for the sound and write the correct letter, and then sit, and then man. And so the learner's job is to write the letter and say the sound as they're writing it. That's non-negotiable. If they're not saying the sound, rub it out and say, I can't hear you. Get them to write it again, because we have to have the sounds present for the letters to match onto them. Then listen for the end sound, then listen for the middle sound. So these are a broad contrast. A and I are very different sounds. And then write a couple of the letters. I found in my previous workbooks that some kids were going from writing one letter in a word to writing the whole word and freaking out a bit. So I'm trying to make a gentler slope. So here they just have to write 2 of the sounds of the 3 sounds in the word man. Then introducing an extra couple of letters and sounds, and then same thing, write the end sound, write the middle sound, write most of the word but not all of it yet, and then introduce a couple more sounds. Oh, sorry, wobble the camera. And when you get to page 12, they're starting to write whole words. And so it continues on up, and you can see that the pictures are the PCS pictures from, I pay a royalty on those. And so you're still doing, write the first sound, write the last sound, write the middle sound, write the whole word. And then also a fair bit of practice of contrasts that kids often get mixed up. So for example, a lot of kids get mixed up. So there's a good amount of practice at hearing the difference between those and writing the correct spelling. And then when you get up to the middle of the book, page 42, we start doing 2 letters, 1 sound. So these are the ones that are often doubled after a short vowel, and practicing saying 1 sound while writing 2 letters. And then we get into consonant combinations, adjacent consonants. So elf, and hearing that l and that k in act and the n in end is often very difficult. It blurs, especially this n is colours the vowel, and kids often don't hear it as a distinct sound. And so plenty of practice doing that. And then on up into 4 sound words, starting with a morpheme, so a meaningful word part. When we have s at the end of a noun, cuffs, lips, pips, that also, as well as representing a sound, it means there's 2 of them or 100 of them. It's more than 1. But when we get to vans and jams and buds, it sounds like a z, but we still write s because it's a plural. So it's a meaningful word part as well as representing a sound. The reason it's a z is because this is voiced, this is voiced, this is voiced, and so the voicing carries over onto the last sound, whereas here this is voiceless, cuffs, so that's voiceless. So it's really co-articulation is the reason that There's two ways to pronounce that final S. Moving on up, then we start to work on 4-sound words and listen for the N sound, listen for the vowel sound, listen for the inside consonant, and then write the whole word. And you'll see that I've grouped words with the same letter and same sound at the start together, because a lot of kids do this, look at the first letter and guess with words, and we really want them to have to drill down and see the differences and hear the differences between similar looking words. So all three of those words there have got the same first two sounds and the same last sound, and you've got to listen for lift, lint and list, and hear those inside consonants. Then we go up to introducing past tense ED, which is critical for reading interesting stories, usually written in past. And so we start off with just copying the words. So you've got to write Frank filled, and you just copy down fill, and then the ED is there. And then you turn over and you have to write the whole past tense word. It frizzed up. Now this one sounds like D. When you have a voice, the same as with the plural S, when you have a voice sound at the end of a word and then you add ED, the sound is D. When you have a voiceless sound like camp at the end of a word, you put ED, it sounds like a T, camped or jumped. And again, that's to do with the voicing carrying over from the base word. And when you have a word that ends with T or D, you can't just add another T or D sound, you won't hear it, so we say ed. So we say Jim and Sam lift ed, and it had printed well, which is why we have three different ways to say that ED ending. Then we have consonant blends at the beginning of words, consonant adjacent consonants, and again, a lot of words that look similar at the start with just the final bit different or just the middle bit different. So write the last sound now. We've finished working on the first sound. That's the easy one to hear. Write the last sound, then write the vowel sound, then write the inside consonant. That is the hard one to hear. Very often that's an ul or an so drop, drum, flag, flap, flat, flam. And again, you can see that I've kept all the ones together, so you've got to look beyond the first letter. And then moving on up into words that have got, next page, 5 sounds. So drink. Now this time we're listening just for the vowel sound. We're assuming that you're getting pretty good at hearing first and last sounds. And then listening for the inside consonant at the end of the word, and then the inside consonant at the beginning of the word, and then write the whole word. Then we go on to three consonant combinations, but all these are really hard to hear and really quick. And so getting kids to slow down, say the word slowly, listen for all the sounds, don't leave any sounds out when they're writing these words is crucial and sets them up well for being able to then move on to learn about other spellings and additional consonant diagraphs in Workbook 2. So I hope you like that. I hope it helps your students if it's relevant to you. And please let me know if you have any thoughts or feedback on them.